Welcome to the Beyond the Years podcast, a podcast about all things Disney.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We got to see it.
Yep.
Opening night.
Correct.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, opening night.
It's been a week now because Josh was sick.
And still sick.
Yeah. But it was so good, and we've been anxiously awaiting where his voice came back enough where we could do a podcast.
Yeah.
So we'll start out. No spoilers in the beginning, and then we'll give you a spoiler warning, I think is the best way to do it.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about it a little bit before we kind of ruin it if people haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say this first. Ashley did not want to see this movie originally.
That's correct, yeah.
Because she does not like the first movie.
Well, I've never seen the first movie.
Well, you have.
In pieces. So our 3-year-old loves the first movie, and it's one of those movies where we downloaded on our iPad, and when we travel, he would watch it in the car. So I'd kind of seen bits and pieces, but I was never interested.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying.
And based on the previews, this kind of looked intriguing, but it was never something that I thought would interest me. But because our 3-year-old loves Spider-Man, we wanted to take him. And initially, it was just going to be Josh and Grayson going together. And then we ended up making like a family outing out of it. We went with your mom and sister.
Yep.
And what a ride.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing.
So I also think that you have more of a understanding of like the comic book look to the movie now, because you've cut out the comics for the coasters.
Yeah,
you have more of like an appreciation for like what they did,
the actual craft of it.
Yeah,
and it's not just, people have to understand that all of these superhero movies are coming from something. It may, they may have their own kind of creative freedom or, working it in a specific way, but it's all starting from the comic books.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. Like, they go to see any Marvel or DC movie. Those come from comic books. And so for me, I'm the one who does all of the work on our small business where we cut up and butcher comic books. But in doing that, I get to see a lot of like the art behind it. And that was referenced a lot in this movie. Yeah. And so that was really fun for me to get to notice things that you didn't even get to notice. How they kept true to a lot of, there was just a lot of the visual representation kind of stuff was straight from the comic books.
Oh yeah.
Which is very exciting. The animation style, I was concerned from the previews that it would bother me. And it did take me a while to kind of adjust my eyes. I think there was one point, I think someone sitting in front of us was wearing like a kind of a weird pair of glasses.
Yeah.
And I like looked around. I was like, is this supposed to be in 3D? And we just didn't get glasses because it kind of looks like it's 3D.
Yeah.
And it takes you a little while to get adjusted.
Oh yeah.
To it.
Yeah.
I would say it took me like 30 minutes until I like didn't really notice it anymore. But it was very visually appealing.
Yeah. It is so unique. And so I didn't know like a whole lot about the animation. I kind of know about the animation from the first movie, but from what I understand is what they animate like with regular like animation. And then they come back and it's like a drawing over top. So that's what makes it so unique.
Really
looking.
Interesting. Yeah, it really, I don't think that I have seen anything quite like it as far as the animation.
Yeah. And the next closest thing to what that's going to be, like Spider-Man, is going to be the new Ninja Turtle movie that comes out towards the end of the year. It's got a very similar vibe.
Yeah, it was really interesting, definitely unique. Man, like it was just trying to stay away from spoilers here at the beginning. It really surprised me in all the right ways. Like, again, I went into it with pretty low expectations, assuming that I wasn't really going to like it, but I wanted to see it because our kid was excited. It kept my attention the whole time. Once I kind of, again, it kind of took me a minute to adapt to the animation style.
Yeah.
But once you move past that and you adapt, and it was just so good.
Yeah.
Just, there was a little bit of humor, not too much. It was really well balanced. It was just balanced, you know? It's not one of those movies where they're
You're
like
not
trying,
laughing out loud.
Well, yeah.
Funny the whole time, and it's super serious when it needs to be serious, and silly when it needs to be silly, and like just all around like fun. But it also, I don't know, it just makes you think more.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
maybe because it's a Spider-Man movie, and it's just like it draws you in more because it's a Spider-Man movie. But yeah, and I mean, it had my attention the whole time, all like 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever it was, 2:15 minutes.
And our 3-year-old, he was pretty good the whole time.
Yeah,
he
got the last
antsy.
like 20 minutes.
He got antsy at the end, but
Yeah.
it's over a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that people bring their kids?
I guess it just depends on how much they like Spider-Man. Grayson obviously really loves Spider-Man. So he was like invested most of the time to watch the movie. But like we said, his attention did start to lose a little bit. And it was like when it was getting more serious and there was not a lot as much action.
I do feel like it was more catered to the adult audience.
Oh yeah. I would say like teenage, like 12-year-olds, like older kids. I would say like older than like an elementary kid. You know what I mean? It's going to be geared more towards that. I mean, obviously kids are going to love it, but there's just a lot of adult themes in the movie that aren't like dark themes, but like more, like in Pixar movies, you catch like the adult like puns. There's more of like just adult humor and adult seriousness in this movie. Because most of the Spider-Men are like kind of older Spider-Men. I mean, they're still kids like Miles and Gwen, but.
So let's start talking about a little bit more of the movie. Okay. This is your spoiler alert because we're gonna get into it. I mean, I think there's in this day and age, the trailers for movies share a lot. Like in watching the trailer, you know that it's the Spider-Verse. There are multiple Spider-Men.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that's going to be a huge spoiler, but this is your spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things, kind of going back to from the comic books, was I have seen so many versions of Spider-Man when I'm cutting up the comics, and I notice it, but I don't really think about it. But when I watched this movie, I was like, oh my gosh. Because sometimes it didn't quite register, like, this is a different version of Spider-Man. This is a different version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is a different version of Spider-Man. And so it was really cool for me, since I make our coasters, and I see all these different versions, to like put 2 and 2 together and to get to see it. Like the one with the spikes.
Oh, Spider-Punk?
Spider-Punk.
Yeah.
I made a keychain with Gwen on one side and Spider-Punk on the back, but I didn't know his name was Spider-Punk.
Yeah.
And now, like, watching the movie,
it like goes
made
together.
more connections. And like, obviously I knew about Gwen because we watch Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
We're kind of leaving that phase right now.
Yeah, it's a little too kiddie.
Yeah, but so I knew who Gwen was, but it was really cool for me to see all of the different variations of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Super fun.
So, on that note, who was your favorite Spider character?
What is the one with the baby?
Peter B. Parker.
Peter, yeah.
Yeah.
Peter B. Parker.
Yeah.
I don't know like everybody's name still. Like I recognize some of the characters.
Yeah.
I loved him, and I know that he was in the first movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know much more about it.
Yeah.
I just thought his character was hilarious because he was wearing a bathrobe and slippers,
Yeah.
and he was carrying around his baby everywhere.
Yeah.
And she had like a little
Mayday.
she had a little Spider-Man hat that turned into like a mask.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. I loved all of their scenes. I thought Gwen was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, especially at the beginning, Gwen was a little too chatty, full of herself, like during battle kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically the scene where she's fighting the paper creature.
The vulture.
Yeah.
The different vulture, yeah.
And the whole time she was just like
Talking
smack. And
yeah.
I actually was kind of annoyed with her during that scene. That's really the only scene that I can think of that happened. Because it didn't happen later in the movie. Overall, I really liked her. But I did notice that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Miles was cool. Obviously, he's the main character in this movie. For such a young kid, I mean, I thought he was doing a good job.
Yeah.
Especially when things got a little bit more serious at the end.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Did you like Spider-Woman?
I don't even...
Jessica, the one that was pregnant.
Oh. Yeah.
Because when she first popped up, I remember you like nudged me like, look at her, like she's pregnant.
Yeah. No, that was cool. That was fun. Yeah, I liked her. We didn't get to see a ton of her. She was definitely just like a kind of side character.
Yeah.
At the beginning, what's the bad one's name? Not the bad one.
Spider-Man, Miguel O'Hara.
Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah.
I was like, this dude is cool.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's
Gwen.
He's still. Yeah, I think he's still cool.
See, that's what I was gonna say. That's what makes this movie so good, is because you want to hate Miguel.
He's an anti-hero.
Yeah, you want to hate Miguel, but at the same time, like, you love him.
He was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and he's voiced by Oscar Isaac, and I love Oscar Isaac, so I'm like, yes.
Yeah, the animation and the casting of all of the different characters, just spot on.
Yeah.
So I thought those were cool. Spider-Punk was cool. I wish we got to see more of him, like with his mask on, and in action.
Yeah.
We didn't get a ton of him, but the times he was in there, I thought it was cool. What about you?
Well, Spider-Punk was my favorite character. I loved him.
Yeah.
And I loved his whole demeanor. This is very, like, anti-establishment. It's just really fun.
His animation was a little different, too.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to bring that up earlier, but I totally forgot. So each frame of the movie. So, like, okay, perfect example. I watched a video on it the other day. Miguel moves every frame that they have in the movie. He moves with that frame. Miles moves every 2 frames. So if you there's 2 frames that move and then he moves. And then Spider-Punk is every 6. So every 6 frames he moves. So it makes him look like he's moving more like not robotic, but kind of like more sporadic.
More kind of glitchy.
Yeah, kind of. But that's what's so interesting about the animation that they do. And like obviously each character gets a different like look to their animation. Like he had a totally different look because sometimes he was in color and then sometimes he was in black and white. There
was a couple, and maybe you can speak to this more. There was a couple scenes. One in particular had Gwen and her dad, and the colors were changing.
Yeah, it was
like she was turning super blue.
Yeah, it was like whenever he's like, when he reads her rights in the beginning. That's what you're talking about.
I would assume it's tied to her emotion.
Well, that, and I think it just really is like it looks like a comic book, like a picture from a comic. That's what the whole time I was watching, I was like, God, it's like right out of a comic.
Yeah.
Just because her like whole universe is really different looking, but it looks like the comic books.
So what did you think about her dad?
Well, that's what kind of sucks for me, was I had to take Grayson to the bathroom the second time we saw him. So I can't say anything about him really. I just saw him the first time because whenever he's like in the beginning of the movie was the only time I saw him.
Okay, so that's kind of the main thing that I'm asking about. What did you think about his decision to go ahead and he was going to bring her in?
Oh,
for the supposed murder of Peter Parker.
Well, I was like, oh man, don't do that. But at the same time, I didn't know what to think. I was just curious what was going to happen next.
I understand, like, so for me, I understand, like, that's kind of how we get the rest of the movie. Like, that's the foundation the movie's built on, is she's heartbroken and she sees an opportunity to run away. And now we're in the Spider-Verse, right? So we had to get there. But as a parent, that was... it was heartbreaking, and it was kind of hard to watch and kind of hard to believe too, because
I think that was me. I was like, man, I can't believe he's arresting his daughter right now.
Yeah, because he has seen her grieve.
Yeah.
And we also got to, as an audience, we also got to see the scene where he found, like, when she supposedly killed Peter. We see what he saw. And what he saw wasn't necessarily super incriminating. He didn't see anything except her standing
over his body
at the scene.
Yeah.
And we don't know, like, he just made it. He just assumed.
Yeah.
So when you're in that kind of a situation, especially with your own kids, we don't have a teenager, so I mean, can't really relate 100%, but for her to take her mask off in a moment of, like, kind of trust, and for him to be like, he thought about it for a second. I'm going to go ahead and arrest my kid for murder.
Yeah.
Murder. Instead of, like, not even going to talk about it anymore. Because nothing would have happened. There was no one else there to see, even if he just took a few minutes to talk to her.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking. Ultimately, he did end up making the right choice towards the end of the movie and quitting his job. But
see, I didn't know that. I missed that.
Yeah.
I missed the whole scene where he was because Grayson was like, I gotta poop, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, so he ended up, when she came back, she had been gone for months. I mean, I wonder how long it took him to finally figure out that that mattered more. But it was just kind of hard to get behind that specific situation.
Yeah.
Because I don't know necessarily how realistic it is for, like, a parent to react that way, especially if they've got to witness their child grieving.
Yeah, I get that.
And so that was kind of a weird I mean, that's heartbreaking, and I can't even imagine what she went through after that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get back to my favorite Spider-Man characters.
That was really depressing, but I was like, I mean, I don't have, like, any negative feelings about the movie because of that. Like, that is why we have the rest of the movie. It's just hard. I can't imagine what would make a parent, like, make that kind of choice.
Yeah.
For a kid who's, like, not a bad
teenager.
kid.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I gotcha.
Your favorites?
Okay, so obviously Spider-Punk, I thought he was super interesting. And going back and, like, obviously I've, like, watched scenes from, like, TikTok that people have illegally loaded onto the internet. And where he's going through the Spider Society and he's picking up all these gadgets and gizmos to make the watch that he makes for Gwen at the end of the movie.
You're talking about Spider-Punk?
Yeah, Spider-Punk.
See, and I didn't know I don't even really recall exactly what that scene looked like.
I know I sent it to you and you were like, I don't want to watch this. And I was
Josh
like,
sends me
okay.
so many TikToks.
Okay, anyway, Spider-Punk was definitely my favorite character because it was a character that, one, I didn't know, like, I was going to be like, oh, wow, I really like that character. I thought he was just going to be, like, a side character. But, like, he's the one that told Miles, like, use your palms, not your fingers, to, like, give more of a shock and everything. And I don't know, I just really vibed with him, which was fun. I obviously loved Miles. And I love how they, like, aged him up a little bit from the first movie. Because in the first movie, he definitely looks like a kid. Now he looks more like a teenager.
And I liked his friend, too.
Genki. Yeah. Yeah, he's funny.
Is it Genki or Gonke?
Genki.
Genki?
Yeah.
I read Grayson, one of our Spider-Man storybooks, and I mispronounced his name the whole time.
Gonki.
I said Gonke.
No,
no.
It's just Genki.
Genki.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this name? I think I actually said Genki, and I was like, that's not right.
No.
And then I was like, Gonke.
So he's going to be like, look, it's Gonke.
Yeah, and it was a story about Miles Morales, so...
Yeah.
And specifically, like, his roommate.
That's funny.
So it was in there so many times.
So, like, obviously Miles, like you said, he's, like, the main character, and his story is just, like, really good. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the movie, you're just, like, Team Miles, especially when you find out, like, what really happens and what happened to him. Miguel, Spider-Man 2099, was awesome. I thought, like, he was my second favorite character to come out of the movie, because I was like, ooh, man, like, I'm invested in him.
Cool. Super cool.
And also, like, obviously getting to see all the different Spider-Men was really fun.
That was fun, yeah.
But one of my favorite Spider-Men is the Cowboy Spider-Man.
Oh my God. That was good, yeah.
Web Slinger and then his horse Widow. And I love that character because he's so unique looking.
It makes me want to, like, flip through every Spider-Man comic ever just to, like, put two and two together.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
So that was, like, one of my favorites. And that was one that, like, got very minimal lines, but it was just funny. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I loved Gwen and the other, like, main characters. Spider-Man India was really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, that's Durpinder from Deadpool that voices him.
Oh.
So that was fun.
Yeah, I liked him.
And, well, and his web slinging was, like, really cool.
Oh, yeah, he had
that little ball thing or not ball, but...
I don't know what it's called.
I don't either, but it was really cool how it moved and, like, how he swung through the city. And, like, that whole India scene was really interesting because it looked like like pencil drawing. Like the city itself did in the background.
Man, I just think they had so much fun with this movie.
Yeah.
How much fun, especially once we get into the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. And there's all of these different Spider-Men.
Oh, yeah.
How fun would that be to make?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Just all the random Spider-Men.
Yes.
Like, oh, let's put this one. Oh, this is like... I'm just going to say, like, a bunch of the characters that I saw and liked. The Spider-Rex. The dinosaur.
Oh, yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah, that was good.
Because we have one of those comics. Mm-hmm. And the Spider Cat was just a funny nod with that.
I saw Spider Pig.
That spit the web out of his mouth.
That was good.
Yeah. And I really like Peter B. Parker, too. Mm-hmm. He's funny. And he's funny in the first one.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I really liked him.
Yeah, I would say, like, though... For me, Spider-Punk and Miguel and then Miles were my favorite characters in the movie. Oh, obviously, I love Scarlet Spider. The Spider-Man that's
yes.
the clone.
Yes.
The blonde hair.
Yes, in the blue shirt.
Yeah, he's like brooding in that one.
Yes.
Always broody.
Yes, that was funny.
Yeah. Look at my 90s muscles. He's like, so physiqued. He was voiced by Andy Samberg.
That was good.
But
see, that's the kind of, like, just well-timed humor that I like. Because it wasn't like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. It was just like right when you need it. A little comic relief.
So what did you think of the Spot in his story?
I just want to say real quick, because I was thinking about him too. Miles' parents were fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved them both.
Yeah.
So great. His mom was stunning.
Yeah.
Loved her. So sassy.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved her. Everything about her. The way she like tried to discipline.
Yeah.
Just so great. And then the dad too.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I just want to throw that in there. His parents were so great.
Yeah.
But the Spot. So I had no idea when we saw trailers for this movie that this was going to be like it.
Yeah. He's very obscure character.
Yeah. So at the beginning, so when they're in the grocery store and he's trying to, when he's trying to steal the ATM, I was like, this is just kind of silly. But I liked it because Miles is a teenager and it's like not that serious he's not like an axe murderer that he's having to like fight the supervillain, right? And it's just like a kind of, it seemed at the moment like an easy to defeat kind of bad guy.
Yeah.
And then as he evolved through the movie, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So, but I think I liked the whole story behind how he was created. Yeah. Really interesting.
What did you think of the spider that he pulled in from the other universe that bit Miles?
I don't really necessarily have a lot of thoughts about that. But
well, did you see where they pulled the spider, what the spider was getting ready to bite, who the spider was getting ready to bite before the spider? It was the other Miles from that universe with the dreadlocks or with the dreads at the end.
Oh.
That's the Prowler. Spoiler,
yes.
Obviously. But let me see if I can find the scene. You keep talking and I'm going to look it up so you can see it.
Well, it's been over a week since we saw the movie, but I will say, regarding the Spot character, I liked the natural kind of evolution of his character throughout the movie, because at the beginning it seemed like he was doing what he felt like he had to survive. He wasn't being like evil. He was just a guy like trying to have money so he can survive, because he obviously can't have a job with what happened to him. And then it just kind of progresses throughout the movie, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought he was kind of funny too, which was fun. But regarding the Prowler, I knew pretty much instantly when his uncle walked into the apartment that Miles was the Prowler in that universe.
Oh, see, at first, I don't know why, but I was like, it's Peter Parker. But I don't know why I thought Peter. Mm-hmm. I think it's just because of Spider-Man.
You were probably making the right connection there, but that was...
I think it was because they were like, oh, this, that's the scene. See, that's the Miles. And that's the hole, and the spider's getting ready to bite him.
We'll need to watch it again.
Yeah.
But there's other things we want to watch that are out right now.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about in a minute.
Yeah. We'll talk about it at the end.
Can we talk about the end for a second?
Yeah.
Because there was a point, I would say like about 10 minutes before the movie actually ended, where I was like, how in the world are they going to wrap this up?
Yeah.
In 10 minutes or whatever. Yeah. I was like,
because we knew it was getting close to the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I'm like, how are they going to do this? Cliffhanger.
No, yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. It's like Infinity War almost, like the snap.
Crazy.
Yeah. So obviously, and so what led up to this, obviously Miles is in the Spider-Verse and they're going through like Miguel's trying to explain, hey, these events are called canon events. They have to happen, and you're connected to the spot, and like you can't save your dad because Miles saw like a vision of his dad dying, and so Miguel traps him in this thing. Miles escapes a spider society building, and is like running away, but he like pulls all the Spider-Men out of this like facility, and then goes back to that spider portal. I can't remember what they called it. It's a spider that sends them back to their respected universe. So the spider that bit Miles obviously wasn't from his actual universe. It was drawn in from Earth 42.
So when that was happening, is that a thought that you had?
No, I had no idea. So when it like scanned his DNA,
Yeah.
I watched another clip, and it said Universe 42.
I didn't make the connection.
I didn't either. I knew his universe is 1610, but I wasn't paying attention to that because he was invisible the whole time, and there was like a lot of other stuff going on. So I'm like watching everything else and not like the screen.
I bet there's a ton that you would notice on the second watch.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because there's just so much going on. The first time you're just like, oh, this is so good. So whenever it obviously scans him, and then it sends him to Universe 42 and not his respective universe of 1610. So
crazy.
Like the whole time, like his mom's in there, and like I knew something was different because I'm like, his room looks different, but I didn't know like if it landed in his room or like another room or what it was. And then he's like, I'm Spider-Man, and she's like, well, who's that supposed to be? What is that, like a comic book character or something? And then Uncle Aaron shows up, and he died in the first movie. And then like, oh crap, he's in the wrong universe. And he realizes, he's like, puts 2 and 2 together, like, I'm in the wrong universe. And then
so crazy.
Aaron knocks him out and takes him to like his apartment. And then we see the Prowler, which is Miles from that universe, as a Prowler.
It is kind of interesting if you're like to dive more into like the mental aspect there, how our situation can drastically affect our decisions as a person. Because I saw, obviously, when Miles is with the Prowler, Miles from the other universe, they've obviously had vastly different experiences, and that's shaped what they became.
Yeah.
And I remember like sitting in the theater watching that and thinking, we are all a product of our situation sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like it really shapes, like the hand you've been dealt really shapes how you turn out sometimes. And that was obviously a testament to that. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
No, it's super interesting because it's obviously Miles realizes like, oh man, this universe doesn't have a Spider-Man, and this is what happens. Like the whole city is kind of in turmoil. It's just like not a good place to be. So it's just crazy to think like that's what his universe could have became if he didn't get bit by the spider and then Spider-Man actually died. It's crazy.
It is. I will say that wasn't like as far as like the whole movie, the scene where he was in the wrong universe was probably like my least favorite out of the entire movie. Where I lost interest a little bit.
Well, that, and it was, Grayson was getting a little antsy, so it was like we weren't as like honed into the movie as we were in the beginning. But yeah, it probably wasn't my favorite, but it was me getting the most like reaction of like, oh crap, like he's not even in the right universe. Yeah. Kind of thing.
I will say, I think the scene was there was a scene with him running, and it was in this universe in the rain.
It's like when he first gets there.
That was straight out of the comic books with like the green background in the rain. Yeah. And for me, I got a little excited because I was like, I've literally cut specific comic books up with the Green Rain and Miles Morales.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it very specifically because visually that's not like the colors I would put together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember cutting him up, and because I have to make things that I think other people will like sometimes. But it was just something that kind of stuck in there. So it was fun for me when I see the scene of him running in the rain with the green background. I'm like, oh my God, this is straight out the comic books. How cool. And I'm like, I wonder how much of the animation style in specific scenes is like specifically out of the comics.
I would say a lot of it,
fun.
especially like even the Gwen one when I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's got to be straight out of the
Yeah,
comics.
I mean,
almost just the animation or the colors and the animation they use, and how she looks and moves.
So now I can keep an eye out in the future, and it's just kind of fun.
Yeah,
to make those connections.
Yeah. So I mean, God, this movie just does so much like interesting stuff. Like obviously a multiverse movie, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about what we can talk about that's gonna like be of value to people listening to the podcast, aside from just like our opinions. The movie is awesome.
Well, I mean, I thought it was cool all the cameos that we got. So like when they're walking through with all like the jail cells, the jail cells of the Spider Society. And we saw the Prowler that Donald Glover.
Oh my God. I totally forgot about that till when you said that.
Yeah. So we get Donald Glover, which is from the MCU.
Yes.
In like a containment cell.
That was so fun. That happened throughout the movie.
Yeah, and it was like the live action version of him.
Yeah.
And it was like a cartoon character looking at a live action version.
Yes, that was so cool.
Which was like very like, oh man, like is almost Space Jam-y.
Fourth wall weird stuff is happening.
Yeah, it was like Space Jam, but like way better than like what Space Jam looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not so like weird.
Yeah, it was super cool, and it happened. I think was it when he was in that convenience store.
Oh, the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he walked into the Venom universe.
Yes.
Talking to Mrs. Chow.
Yes.
Or Miss Chang. I can't remember what her name was, but yes. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, every time that happened, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Because it's so unique.
Yeah.
Like, that does not happen.
Yeah, in an animated movie.
I don't think I've ever seen that happen like that in an animated movie.
Yeah, it's super cool. I totally forgot about the Venom scene until you said the supermarket, and I was like, oh yeah, they go to the Venom universe. Because it just ties like all, like the web of life and destiny is what it's called. But it just like ties in everything. And it's just like, oh man, like it's all connected.
We got stuff from...
Yeah, Andrew Garfield showed up, and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man showed up. But it like shows the death scenes of like
together.
Uncle Ben.
Yes.
And it's like they're talking about like these are canon events. Like this has to happen. This is what makes Spider-Man a Spider-Man. And that whole scene was like super cool. Pretty much like when they got to the Spider Society, and like the whole time they were there was super interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. That was, I mean, I think the movie was really well paced up to that point, but once we got there, it was just like, man, like full attention.
Yeah, you're super invested because it's like, man, there's
so
a lot
fun
going on.
because you could watch this movie 12 different times and notice different things every time. Specifically when you get there.
Yeah, there were so many. I think there was over 294 characters that they made for this movie, and I think like 240 of them were Spider-Man characters. And that was ones that like you could see throughout the whole time. Like there were some in the background that you weren't going to be able to make out as well. But I think it's 240 like actual Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That they drew and animated a little bit. So that's what blows my mind. I'm like, God dang, like I don't even know what the next movie's gonna be like. Which comes out March of 2024.
Okay, so we have less than a year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
It's like 301 days, I think, because it's the shortest time between like a back-to-back sequel like this, which is amazing.
Well, yeah, I think this movie has been so well received. When was that date announced? Was it after this movie was released?
I think it popped up online.
This movie's been so well received. The next one is going to do really well in the box office.
Oh yeah.
Because there's going to be, obviously it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But also the movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's going to be this whole group of people that went to see this movie that didn't see the first movie, and now they're going to see the third movie.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring all their friends and family. So this next movie is going to do amazing.
I'll be curious to see what you think of the first movie now, actually watching it all the way through.
See, I still don't feel pulled to watch the first movie. I don't feel like I need to.
Well, I think you need to.
Everything I've heard is that like this second movie was far and away surpassed the first movie.
Well, yeah, it does, but the first movie is like interesting.
Why would I watch the first movie when I can watch the second one?
Well, we just need to watch the first one so we can understand.
If you could give me a solid reason. Because
you need to watch it. You get more of Peter B. Parker in that movie, and more of his story, because you don't get. He's not a main. He's like a main character, yes, but he's not as a main character as he was in the first movie. Like the first movie, you get a lot of him, and a little bit of Gwen, and a little bit of the other Spider characters that are in the movie. Where this movie, you get obviously a lot of Miles. You get a lot of Miguel and a lot of Gwen and less of Peter B. Parker. And like Spider-Ham and the other spiders don't even show up really in the movie. Also, at the end of the movie, Gwen is making her own Spider-Verse team. And so like I thought to me it was like she was narrating like the whole movie. Like, you ready to join kind of thing? Like, whose side you going to be on? Like, are you going to be on the Gwen side or Miguel O'Hara's side? Which there's a lot of parallels that people are finding in, like, the posters. Like, on one side, it'll be all the characters that side with Gwen, and on the other side is all the characters that side with Miguel. But before you watch the movie, you didn't know, like, why they were like that.
Yeah, I mean, the next movie is just going to be freaking killer. And it's going to like right into the action, I bet. Just dive right in.
Yeah, I'm curious if we pick up like right where we left off.
I think we will.
Or if we'll go like, or if it'll start with like Miguel or Gwen or someone else doing something.
I'm hoping they just pick up right where it cut off. Or it picks up
at the spot. Could do that. That might be interesting.
Yeah.
To start the movie with the spot.
I bet that's what's happening. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to lose my voice more. I can feel my voice is like.
So final thoughts. The movie is fantastic. You should go see it.
Yeah.
Regardless of everything, you'll probably like it.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of movie style you like, no matter what.
My mom and sister enjoyed the movie. And they're not like the biggest comic book movie fans.
No.
But the only thing that kind of drew them away from it was the animation style, but that's just because they're not used to that.
And it does take a minute to adjust, for sure. But overall, super highly rated. Movie. Super highly rated. Just fantastic. So go see it.
I would say it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. Live action and like animated. It'd be that. And I think that's going to be a lot of people's because it's just so interesting. It's so well versed.
It really is. I don't know. Okay. So I do want to talk about a couple quick things.
Okay.
Because I really want to see Little Mermaid. I have not got to see it yet, but I've been listening to people talk about it on podcasts and whatever. Yeah. And it just makes me so excited to see it.
To see it.
I know. I really want to go.
Okay.
Maybe we can go this weekend.
Well, I really want to go to Rise of the Beast.
Yeah, I know. This is the whole thing.
Because I've been looking forward to that movie like for the past year.
I know. I'm so torn.
Sam was like, you got to go see it. It's so good. Her brother. is like, you need to go see it. It's like the best Transformers movie they've ever made. And I'm like, damn it.
I know
Plus
that
the
it's
new Fortnite skin. There's an Optimus Prime skin and an Optimus Primal skin. I'm like, oh yes.
I know it's gonna be good, and I know I'm gonna like it, but I love a lot of the live action remakes of Disney movies. So I've been excited about this, and I feel like it's been in the works forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've heard about it forever. And
I just heard bad things about this anime or the CG. I heard it's very crappy CG.
I've heard mixed things. I've heard that like the water scenes are like way better than Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to hear. I've heard, is it Halle Bailey?
Yeah.
I think it's Halle Bailey. I've heard she's phenomenal, and I can't wait to see it. I'm just excited. I like the Little Mermaid animated movies, but it's one, I don't know, like I feel like I really wanted a live action for a while. So I think I'll probably really enjoy it, but I want to see it.
I was going to say next weekend, we are, because I already bought tickets. I had to buy tickets today for it. We're going to be seeing the new Flash movie with Zach and Brittany. So I bought tickets for 3:30
on a Sunday next weekend. Mm-hmm.
So that'll be Father's Day too, by the way. So we'll have to have someone watch Grayson.
Uh-huh. We'll figure it out. But if you're listening and you have seen Little Mermaid, let me know what you think. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I'm excited to see it. And we're counting down to our Disney trip.
Yep, we're
90
under 90 days now, I think.
Under 90 days.
Yep.
So at 60 days because
90 days today.
90 days today.
Yep.
Wow. God.
I remember when it was 135 days. I was like, oh my God, it's never going to go down.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
I'm getting more excited. Like, and I can feel Grayson's excitement growing.
Yeah.
Too.
He's very into Star Wars right now, as well as Spider-Man and everything else. But we've also kind of like groomed him to be like, keeps humming the Star Wars themes.
Yes.
It's so much fun.
It is amazing. His memory to do that.
Yeah.
And the bad guy song.
Yeah. He's
Darth
Vader. I want
Vader.
to hear the Vader song.
Yeah.
So
And we were actually watching like the original trilogy with him.
Yeah.
Well, we watched it already, but
yeah, and he loved it.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of him. I'm like, thank God we finally reached the point where we can watch actual movies with our kid. Because for me, I mean, I don't mind watching all of the animated cartoons and
Pixar movies.
Yeah, because all the Pixar movies are fantastic, but at some point it would be nice to get a little variety in there. So the fact that we're able to watch Star Wars, exciting.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
So let us know if you guys see Spider-Verse or Beyond the Spider-Verse. Let us know what you think. Go see Transformers, Rise of the Beast. Even though it's not Disney, we can still go see it. And
it does look really good. So even if you don't like Transformers, I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
I'm so excited. Oh, man. But yeah, and go see Little Mermaid.
Lots of good stuff out right now.
Yep. We'll have Indiana Jones at the end of the month or beginning of next month. And then The Flash. Well, we might have to talk about those as like special episodes.
Yeah. Man, this is great. Like, this month is a very heavy movie release month.
Yeah.
And since we've had Grayson, the amount of times that we're able to go see movies is like drastically decreased.
Yeah.
But he's finally getting old enough where like we don't feel as much guilt.
Yeah.
Having people watch him. I work a set schedule where I have the weekends, so I don't feel as guilty like taking time away from us as a family because we have more time
together
as a whole. So yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of movies over the next month.
Yeah, and that's what I was like excited to talk about this because I was like, it's not technically like Disney related, but it is at the same time because Marvel is owned by Disney, even though this is not a Disney Marvel movie. It is Marvel, but because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I was like, and we're still going to talk about this because it's like
Oh,
Spider-Man.
I figured. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But I feel like if we watch...
It's Disney enough.
Yeah.
It'll probably... You think it'll drop on Disney Plus? Right?
Probably not.
No?
Probably not.
I literally didn't
Spider-Man.
make that connection because I keep forgetting how Sony owns the rights.
Yeah. So Spider-Man is... like, even Venom is on Disney Plus right now. So there's a good chance that it could be on Disney Plus.
Well, we just did that whole podcast and I didn't even think about it.
That
That's
doesn't
fine.
matter. I think it's just a film that like is getting a lot of traction right now and everyone wants to see it. And it, like I said, it technically is a multiverse film that draws in the MCU, and that's in Disney or under the Disney umbrella.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, sorry. But we'll probably do a podcast on Rise of the Beast, and it'll be like a special
We'll see.
episodes.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But okay, well, thank you all for listening today. We're going to wrap it up. If you enjoy the show, let us know. Show support by liking, commenting, subscribing on whatever platform you listen, and follow us over on Instagram. We're trying to be a little bit more active on there. And I've also been throwing around the idea of doing some vlogs when we go to Disney on our YouTube channel. So anyway, thank you guys and have a good day. Here, let me